Nearly there, everybody. Thank you for making effort and being here with us on this final day. I've had an amazing few days, and I've got a bit of a fun talk for you to sort of finish us off, so it's a bit more light-hearted. White slides, I'm afraid. So I live in Sweden. It's about to get really dark there. So personally, I'm quite enjoying the vitamin D. Sort of. So, as has been mentioned a few times, we had the NF Core Hackathon at the start of this week, just upstairs on the 25th floor. And when we were building a schedule, I thought it would be kind of fun to do the wrap-up, describing all the different things we did. Instead of doing that at the end of a hackathon, we could kind of do it at the end of a summit. A few more people watching, you get a feel for what hackathons involve, and also would give me a bit more time to put all the slides together. I was a bit naive on that point. 3 o'clock in the morning last night being like, so apologies if these slides are a little less polished than normal, but we'll see how we go. It's also highly reliant on what everyone at the hackathon wrote down, so yeah, we'll see how we go. So just as a kind of an intro, for this hackathon we had a total of 289 people register. Needless to say, this was a record by quite a margin, probably about double the best we've ever had. And the breakdown was about, we had about 51 people who said they wanted to come in person. That's kind of artificially low because we had to close registration when we hit 50, because there was only these rooms in this building that we could book, and that had a capacity of 50. I'm pretty sure more than 50 people turned up actually, but yeah, that's fine, I won't tell anyone. So this is definitely something for next year. We'll try and find a bigger venue basically, because lots of people asking to come, so that's fantastic, there's such enthusiasm. And then, yeah, 238 people signed up to join online as well via the Gather Town platform. So it was really nice seeing those interactions happening, people popping off to have video calls and kind of chatting, and pull requests coming in from people online. So I wasn't quite sure how that kind of hybrid aspect of a hackathon would work, but I think it was really successful. So yeah, we learned a lot, I think, in this event. NF Core hackathons have traditionally been quite loosely organized. So some hackathons you hear about, there'll be like, specific challenges, specific targets you have to aim towards, and everyone kind of works in projects, and it's almost like a kind of a competition. But our hackathons are not like that. It's more just like kind of bring your laptop and have a cup of tea and put a few hours away to actually do some coding. Lots of people turn up with ideas of what they want to do and find the group that fits their project, and then they can sit down and work on that and have help from other people and kind of, code in that social environment. And other people turn up with absolutely no idea of what they want to do, and we try and kind of curate a list of issues for people to work on. Just to give the hackathon some structure, we always come up with some groups though, just so people can kind of form groups around specific topics, and you're sat next to the right people. So for this hackathon, we decided on 5 groups listed here, and I'm just going to touch through some of the things that these groups wrote down in their HackMD slides. So all content and credits go to them. The documentation team was led by Marcel, Abhinav, and Fran online, and clearly Marcel's been working with me long enough to understand that I appreciate a good bullet point summary, because that's what I found when I went into HackMD last night. So we had an amazing more than 50 pull requests just within this group, with 48 merged, which is an amazing number. We had a lot of the documentation group kind of tied into, there was a lot of crossover between all the groups, but it was especially noticeable with documentation, where people would be working on another aspect of NF Core and be like, this is unclear, or this could do with writing up. And then the documentation group could take that on as a new task right there and then. It worked very well online and offline. I think we had some of the biggest contributors were online. And it was really a good group for beginners, people coming in who maybe are not familiar with Git and the command line and kind of this process of collaborative coding with issues and pull requests. It's nice to come in, find a markdown file and kind of fix some grammar or some spelling mistakes and go through the process of doing this in kind of a low kind of commitment scenario and get to grips with that. And we could see what started off at the start of the week with very small pull requests, very simple, kind of grew and grew and grew, and you could see the confidence of the people working in those teams. It's really good. The pipelines team also know me well, apparently, because theirs was just full of memes and GIFs and know how to keep me happy. So pipeline team was led by Frederica and James, and I've forgotten who's online. Sorry, maybe I should stop listing names, it's too risky. But they had, honestly, there's so much, the pipelines group was big, and there was just so much done there, it's going to be difficult to really do it justice. But they came up with a reviewing buddy list, which was something I really liked. So often at our hackathons, it's difficult to keep up with the pull requests as they come in. And so we sort of pleaded with everybody at the start, please try and do some reviewing as well as just creating pull requests. And the pipelines really took this in a structured way and came up with pairs, which I think worked really well. So, if you did a pull request, your friend across the table would do a review and vice versa to keep everything moving. And this is the list of the pipeline names which were listed in the markdown file. I think it's not even complete. It was a huge number, so lots of people in this group. And just this week, 5 new pipelines, which is astonishing. So these pipelines, well, all of them, as always, are open to contributions, and these are now early stage pipelines. So if any of these sound interesting, please do jump in. We've been talking about a differential expression or differential abundance pipeline since pre-NF Core days, I think. So this one especially has been a really long time coming, and there's been a lot of thought and discussion well before even just coming up with a name. So I'm really excited to see that grow, and there's been some really good movement on that front. The sub-workflows, this is the first time we've had this group because it's the first time we've had any sub-workflows. And we kind of said, if anything, this is going to be one of the main focuses of the hackathon, and one of the main things we want to achieve is kind of give this new concept of sub-workflows a kickstart and try and get over that first hurdle of actually moving this idea into production. So the sub-workflows team were very busy. In fact, I had a round of applause at one point, just spontaneously, something going on, which was kind of fun. But according to their HackMD documents, it seems like they started off well with thinking about naming conventions, and then mostly just sat around waiting for GitHub Actions. I'm happy to say we came up with a really good solution just at the end of a hackathon about how to solve the GitHub Actions CIQ with using an AWS instance. So we'll do that for the future hackathon. So sorry, but yeah, we had a lot of CI jobs running. And again, I didn't know where to start with this because there was just so much work done in this group. So this is just like the headline, literally the headlines from the different days. It was just kind of loads of new sub-workflows, loads of really kind of ground level thinking, lots of discussion, which is when having an in-person event especially is really beneficial because you can just bounce ideas around the table and kind of try and think out of different problems and possibilities and get other people involved. And so we made a lot of progress to sub-workflows. Edmund did one of the wrap-ups, and I thought I'd copy his style to try and get through. There's so many lists, I thought, great, I can just, it was quite entertaining watching Edmund try and keep up with the speed of this when it ran. I think it caught him by surprise, so I'm not going to try and read it out. So the modules group, you can see module sub-workflows, lots of people were kind of going between the different groups according to what was relevant. So the modules repository had huge numbers of pull requests and issues, loads of activity. That's just within 3 days there. And there was real diversity in what this group worked on. We just had a question about building Docker images for AMD, so Christian is particularly interested in this, and he was running performance tests and things, and really thinking about how we can move forward in that direction. And there were just all kinds of sort of general updates, creating new modules, updating modules, fixing modules, and also some discussion about what our best practices should be and how best we should enforce structure on how we write these things, which is really important. Last but not least, we had infrastructure, and Harshal tried to claim this work for the sub-workflows team, but it was, I saw what he did. It was all the infrastructure team, really. What an achievement. Obviously, these guys were working very, very closely together, so the sub-workflows team were trying to create sub-workflows and asking for the tools, and Julia and Matthias and everyone else in that team were just writing all this code on the fly and having it live tested by the person sat next to them. And these 2 weeks ago, none of these commands existed. And now we have almost a complete suite of developer tools for working with sub-workflows, which is just incredible progress. We've never moved this fast on anything before, so that's really huge. And this is what I mean about the hackathon, right? Within a couple of weeks, we've gone from kind of a concept and a pretty solid plan, and hopefully next week, people can start building these sub-workflows and really using them for real. Aside from that, there was work done. Sophia was working on the NF Core website, fixing some bugs, so kind of general tooling around NF Core. Adrian was doing lots of work trying to improve the code coverage, which I really appreciate, on the tools Python dataset. I'm terrible at writing tests, so whenever anyone helps, I'm very grateful. Nicholas was trying out the NF test package, the framework for doing Nextflow testing instead of using kind of Python and PyTest as we have been. NF test is native in Groovy and Nextflow, and it looks really, really interesting. So we're starting to explore how we might be able to use that within the NF core community. And Bruno is working on a new plugin from scratch, which I think has come a really long way this week, which is called NFprov. And this is, we've had a comment come up quite a few times in the last couple of months. I don't know, it's popular for some reason, that people are wanting to know when they run the Nextflow pipeline, what files did it produce? It sounds kind of simple, but it's actually quite difficult to do at the moment, like which paths on S3 were generated from this pipeline run. And so what this plugin does is it gives you a JSON file at the end of the run listing all of those paths, and the plan is to take it forward and list increasing amounts of metadata associated with those output paths. So you can take this file and then at a later point you can say, okay, I've got this file path. What pipeline run did it come from? Which task ran it? What process was that? And then from that, you can kind of dig back into all the provenance that comes with it. So it's quite a lightweight plugin, but it's got a lot of potential there, and it's very, very general. So it should work with basically anything. Matthias here helped me out. So got some panicked messages in the middle of the night. No, we were talking a couple of days ago. Matthias works with me he's at SciLife Lab, and he's in the infrastructure team for NF Core, and he's a bit of a stats junkie like me, and nerdy enough to actually find it fun to dig this stuff out. So he put together a few plots for me, and a few stats about what we did, like totaling up all the activity over the week. 320 pull requests opened, which is, yeah, so mad. 194 merge, which is really impressive, and makes me have some hope that we'll get through the backlog sometime before the next hackathon. Nearly 300 issues opened. This is because when we work on new features, we try and get everyone to create an issue about what they're doing and assign themselves to it for visibility. And 100 issues closed, which is just really, really fantastic. He also got a bit into it and started looking at kind of what were those issues and pull requests and stuff. So what this plot shows, he had to explain it to me about 4 times this morning. I hadn't had enough coffee. Each horizontal bar is a single issue, and the width is how long that issue has been alive, basically. So the left-hand side is when it was created, and the right-hand side is when it was closed. So everything is closing on the right-hand side, because that's what we filtered for. So you can see some of these issues have been around for ages. So I don't know if this is just people cleaning up old issues that have been missed, or really working on problems that have been sticking around for a long time. And then, of course, you see on the far right-hand side, if I zoom in on that, there's this kind of big spike of issues being created and closed in a short period of time, basically during the hackathon, which is really good to see. And then the same thing again for the pull requests. So I think there was some cleanup done on finding old pull requests that had been kind of abandoned, and either closing them if they were no longer relevant or bringing them up to date. So we managed to clear up quite a few pull requests that have been around for a while, and then just, yeah, a massive activity within a few days there. And in fact, you can see on this one the step of each hackathon day, which I quite like. And finally, we also looked at who was doing all of this, a bit of a leaderboard. We're not competitive much. So Marcel and the documentation team was just like spending all of his time opening and closing issues, as far as I can tell. Yeah, and also merging everyone's pull requests. And Edmund, who was just talking, was just opening pull requests and didn't spend any time reviewing. I'm sure it's not fair. And even NF Core Bot managed to make it in there. So good to see that little guy playing. Yeah, so we try and kind of push a bit of a social agenda, have a bit of fun during these hackathons, and so we did three things. We have our now traditional game of bingo, where it just runs throughout the whole event, picking up on any kind of kind of silly things which have become famous and traditional over the years. We had a game of Find the Socks, and we had a quiz which was done by Fran, a really good quiz. So the NF Core bingo looks like this, and has these are all things that have happened in previous events, or repeatedly happened in previous events, and you sign in, and you just, every time something happens, you tick off, and so we had three winners. David was the third winner, and Lawrence came second. She cheated a bit because she was trying to get me to say specific stuff, but I think it still counts. And then Nicholas was the first person to win, so yeah, congratulations, Nicholas. I've probably talked too much about our swag already, but we have these socks and everything, which came from an early hackathon and has become a bit of a meme. And in NF Core hackathons, we, especially online on Gather Town, we've got into this game where Maxime spends much longer than he probably should, creating all these secret passages where you have to walk through walls and walk into the sea and all this kind of stuff to find these socks, which are dotted all over the place. This year, we actually made an active decision not to hide too many, because you just see people walking around for days. And we're like, I think people are not really doing as much as they could be in this hackathon because everyone's just looking for socks. So we limited it to, I think, 7 pairs this time. And so we had this is not a complete list. These was just for like a bunch of people who were coming in at the end of day 1 and day 2, having found all their socks and provided their required evidence and screen grabs. And if you look at the times here, 15:15, we had 15:14, 1 minute earlier was Matthias, who came in third. And Anne came in at 1:14 and 52. And then Victor won at 1:14:51. So to say it was tight, hopefully these guys did actually get some coding done after this. At least they were finished quickly. So. And finally, the quiz. So yeah, as I say, Fran, who's watching online from Sweden, put together a fantastic NF Core themed quiz. I think it's about 18 questions, something like that, and like really kind of fun and pretty general, so accessible to anyone. It's really difficult to do quizzes, so I have a lot of respect for when they go as well as this. Also, I did really badly, so that's good. We had 50 people playing on Kahoot. Yeah, 18 questions. And when I was looking at the reporting feature for Kahoot, it helpfully told me that 12 people need help. So I think I was one of them. So I just thought I'd touch on the most difficult questions and the easiest question. So start off with it. Only 12% of people got this question right. See if you do any better. How many bite-sized talks are they? I mentioned this in my talk, I think, on Wednesday. So just hold a number in your head and see if you did any better. 51. So that was difficult. More than people realize mostly. And joint hardest which was this one, which is what is the oldest NF core pipeline? Based on the first release on NF core. And I got this one wrong. And the answer is not RNA-seq, it was methyl-seq. Now, I think this is a tricky question because I went and looked this up afterwards because I was like, no, I'm sure it was RNA-seq. But we released it under the SciLife Lab account, but the first NF core release was methyl-seq. So, yeah, 6 of you who got that right. I'm impressed. And then the easiest question, finished on a high. Nearly everyone got this one right. What type of apple is most likely the NF core logo on? And, yeah, in Fran's words, you guys really know your apples. So congratulations to Matthias, he won. And especially also to Nicholas, who's the only person on the leaderboard who's not in the core team. So I think really he wins. I'm not sure it's valid for the other two. So we said during a hackathon that there would be competitions means prizes. And anyone might have noticed this little Easter egg in my slides on Wednesday. We've got the emoji for socks, we've got an emoji for cups, and we've also got this emoji here. Ooh. So, right. We've been talking about buying ducks for really quite a long time. We went down quite a big rabbit hole, and it turns out there's a whole industry around producing rubber ducks of various types and styles. Yeah, my wife was like, what are you doing? Scrolling over pages of ducks. So we did order some NF core branded ducks, and Alex promised, who's based in Germany, Alex promised to bring them in his suitcase, 100 rubber ducks, and hope that he didn't get stopped in customs. But unfortunately, the company wasn't quite as quick as they told us they would be, and they still haven't arrived. So I don't have any ducks to give you today. But you have my promise, you have my word that we will be putting some in the post for the winners of the competition. So well done, everyone. With that, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who joined the hackathon. It was really, really fun. And please come back again, join the next one, and anyone else who thinks it sounds like they might be interested, join in and we'll have a good time. Thank you very much.
I'm not even sure if questions were planned now, but now I've got you there. Right. We've got some questions on when would be the next hackathon. Is this planned?
Yeah, well done. I meant to say that and I completely forgot. We don't have an exact date planned or really any kind of a plan, but we have said that we want to do a minimum of 2 hackathons per year. So I think it's pretty likely that the next one will probably be around March or so. And I also wanted to say that if anyone in the audience or anyone watching wants to do their own hackathon, it's not like we own this. It doesn't have to be organized by us. So if you want to organize your own hackathon wherever you are, it'd be brilliant to have ones all over the world, in person. It'd be a lot of fun. So if that sounds like that might be something you'd be interested in, please let us know. We'll help you out in any way we can, send you some stickers and get you involved.
And NF core has evolved quite a lot. It's really grown in the last couple of years. How do you see it evolving over the next, say, 2 years as well?
Yeah, NF core is very much just grown organically. There's never really been very much of a master plan, just kind of a more set of guidelines and ground rules, and it's kind of gone from there. But it doesn't seem to be slowing down, so I hope it just continues to grow. I hope the more people that work on it, the stronger the community gets, the more useful it becomes for the wider the wider world, and our contributions, and we've had quite a lot of questions as well about can pipelines outside of genomics, outside of life sciences be part of NF Core. So I definitely see that happening, that as word gets out, maybe we can start to work with people working in other fields and give them the benefit of the tooling and the experience which we've accumulated.